Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our admins, and the message, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nash, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I have come here on your platform because I have my own confession that I want to give to you on how I joined Islam for a short period of time and I became a Muslim, and how I saw Jesus Christ at the time when I was doing my money making rituals. So what happened to me is that when I came here to South Africa, I started working as a security guard, even though I went to university. But when I came here, I could not find the job that I was looking for because of other challenges that were beyond my control. So I started working for this other Indian man. So this man, he has like one of those cash and carries. So he has a lot of money and he hired me as his private security guard. So I was working as the private security guard at his home at the location where these Indians were staying. So when I started working for him, I then noticed that the maid, a South African lady, she was like the most beautiful woman that I had ever set my eyes on. And immediately when I saw her, I then fell in love with her. But the problem was that she told me that she was too old for me, and even if we would start dating, there was no way that she was going to give me a child, because she asked me when I started proposing love to her, and she said, if I am going to date you, what would you want from me? And I said, your love. And if you would give me a daughter that is as beautiful as you are, then I'll become the most happiest man in this world. She then said, you see, then it means that you and we are not compatible, because I do not want to have any more kids, because already she had 2 kids and I still was in love with her. I used to do a lot of favors for her until finally I swept her from her feet and she fell in love with me and we started dating. So what this Indian man did not know was that the moment that you would go to church, because they go to their church a lot of times in one day, so in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening, they would go to their church. So when they would go to church in the evening, that is when I would pretend to walk around his premises as if I was busy checking if there was no break-ins or anything, and making sure that by the time that you would drive back from church, you would see me busy patrolling around his house. And when you would get into the house, and after they would have fallen fast asleep, the moment that they switch off the lights, that is when I would run and I would go to this other small security gate, and this gate, it would lead me to the room which was at the back of the house where that lady was staying. She would open up for me and we would sleep together for the rest of the night. Then early in the morning, maybe somewhere around 3:30, I used to set an alarm. Then I would wake up and I would go and I would sit at the front of the house, just waiting for the boss to wake up so that he can go to church. So he never knew that this is what me and his maid were doing. We were really in love, me and that woman, even though she was quite an old woman. And when my boss told me that he was about to transfer his maid, instead of her working at his house, he wanted her to work for him at his warehouse. And this was like when in our relationship we started to experience a lot of challenges, because with the way that she was beautiful, when she was working at this other cash and carry, she started meeting a lot of men that had a lot of money. So she started sleeping around and dating a lot of guys. Unfortunately, she told me that it was time for me to let go of her, because she had found someone who was able to take care of her. I did not have any money and I was too demanding, because I was telling her that let us try to have a child together. But she said that she just wanted to relax. She wanted to be free. She wanted to be with a man who had money and who was not going to be too demanding like the way that I was to her. Then with this lady, after we had broken up, she felt so sorry for me because she knew that she was the love of my life. She then said, how about I speak with my little sister, then you start to date my little sister. I said, okay, that is fine. Her sister was as beautiful as she was, so I started dating her sister. But me and her sister, we could not date for a long time because of the way that her sister used to drink beer. The time that she came over to the location where I was staying for the first sleepover, this lady then told me that she just wanted me to buy her some alcohol. So I gave her some money and I said, let me accompany her. So we ended up going to this other tavern that was close to the house where I was renting. When we went to that tavern, after she had bought a six-pack, she said, I am not used to drink my alcohol at home. Please, can you just be like my security so that I can drink my alcohol? Because this was like the first time being in that location. So she started drinking and drinking and drinking. Then when she got drunk, she started dancing like no man's business. And the guy that she was dancing with, I saw that even if I try to go and challenge that man and tell him that this woman belongs to me, that man, with the way that he was strong, he was going to beat me up. So I then decided to return back to my room, and that woman, I don't even know where she slept, because her phone, she was no longer picking up her phone, and she only came the next morning, and that is when I broke up with her. It was really painful to know that the woman that I loved, she was now dating a lot of guys that were wealthy. That was when I thought of actually going to do some rituals, but I never knew that this is where I was going to end up, and I didn't know that this is the things that I would end up doing. And I went and I spoke with this other man. So this man, he was a Chichewa speaking man from Malawi, so he was also working in that same Indian neighborhood. So me and him, we used to have a lot of business conversations, as he would be telling me that in Malawi, the things, they are cheap. It is just that people do not have a lot of money. So he wanted to raise some money so that he can invest. What he was saying was that he wanted to buy a motorbike, and when he would return back to his country, then he would go around the villages as he would be buying cattle from people. Then he would later on go and sell these cattle at an auction. So I then went to him, and when I went to him, I spoke with him, and I told him that I just wanted to make money. He said that it was unfortunate because I was not a Muslim. If I was a Muslim, then he was going to teach me how to make what he called a magic money. So I said, so you mean that if I become a Muslim, then you are going to teach me how to make magic money? He said, indeed, he was going to teach me how to make magic money. So I then joined, and I stopped being a Christian, even though I was not a devoted Christian. But I then threw away my religion and I joined Muslim, and I started following their religion. When I was now a Muslim, that was when he started showing me some of these other cards that he told me that these are the cards that a lot of people like who follow this religion, they use. So they are like magic cards. You can actually cast some spells on your enemies, or you can even bless the people that you like using those magic cards. He showed me some cards that could even create money out of thin air, and those were the cards that I was interested in. So this man, he then taught me how to create money out of thin air. But first, we needed to wait for his brother, who was in Malawi at that time. And when he came back, he had some charms that he had brought with him from Malawi that he was supposed to give to this other South African traditional healer. After that, that was when they started assisting me. That man then taught me how to make money out of thin air. The way that he taught me how to make money out of thin air, he told me that I was supposed to buy 2 buckets. You know, there are those buckets that comes with Archer, those 9-liter buckets. So I went and I bought 2 empty buckets like those ones. Then the other one, he told me that I had to buy a chicken. It did not matter if this chicken was like those African chickens, or if it was those white broilers. So I just bought one, and they told me that the chicken that I had bought, I was supposed to slaughter it, but I was only supposed to slaughter it using my own teeth. So I started eating that chicken alive, but I did not eat it completely. I would only chew on the meat, then I would spit it again into that empty 9-liter bucket. And after I was done, that was when they told me that I was supposed to cut some bond paper. So I had gone to Game and I had bought some bond paper. Then I started to write the amount of money that I wanted. So what I will do is that on a single piece of bond paper, then I would write maybe 200, 200, 200. Then I would cut up the smaller pieces and throw it into that other empty 9-liter bucket, and I just left it in another room. After I was done, that was when I went to sleep. The next morning when I woke up, I saw that there was money everywhere. Those bond papers, they had been transformed and magically they had become like real money. So I took that money, then I started using the money, and I can say that life was really great. I went back to the love of my life and I showed her that indeed somehow I was making a lot of money. After I had spoken with her, this woman, she was so excited. We then moved in together again. After we had moved in together, that was when me and her, we started to, after we had moved in together, me and her, we then got married. So I once had a vision, and in this vision, I had seen Jesus Christ, and he had told me that he was happy with everything that I had done, and still he was going to teach me how to make more money. And then there was a time when my wife, after we had gotten married, when she fell so sick and I could not even know what was wrong with her, little did I know that she was supposed to be the sacrifice. So when I had gone to bed, I just said a small prayer because I had seen Jesus Christ before, and I spoke with him and I said that he should come to my rescue because the love of my life was sick. I could not lose my dear wife. Then when I went to bed, that was when I saw Jesus again. He came to me in a vision, and I saw that I was taken up into heaven and I was kneeling before his throne, and Jesus Christ, I saw him. He was sitting on his throne. He then started to speak with me, and he told me that everything that I had done it following the instructions that he had given me in the previous vision that I had. He told me that what was needed now, it was the blood of my wife, because the blood of the chickens, they were no longer needed. And if I continued sacrificing all of those chickens, then the money will stop coming to me. And he was talking to me. He then said that in this world, for you to achieve anything, you need to sacrifice even yourself. He reminded me of the sacrifices that he had done for everyone that is alive today. He said that even though it was really painful, but he transformed himself, and for a moment he stopped being God and he came down on earth and he sacrificed himself. He got himself crucified, and when his blood was being spilled, that was when he brought back his people back to him. So in order for me to remain rich as I was supposed to sacrifice this woman that I loved with all of my life. And that is when I was given this knife. I was told that I was supposed to chop her up into several pieces. And after that vision had ended, indeed, I saw that I had a knife. So this knife, I was told that I was supposed to place it on her forehead. After I had placed it on her forehead, I saw myself in the spirit as I was chopping up her body parts and placing them into that 9-liter bucket. And I saw that there was something that was busy eating up her body parts. And when I woke up from that vision, that was when she woke me up and she told me that she was really sick. She kept on saying, "Oh, my kids, please promise me that if I die, because I feel that I am about to die, promise me that you are going to take care of my kids." And I promised her. She then said, "Please call an ambulance because I feel that death is knocking on my doorstep." So I knew that already this woman, she had died, but in the spiritual world she had already died, but in the physical world she had not yet died. So I called the ambulance as if I was in a panic mode. And when we went to the hospital, she was already dead. But the people that I was with in that ambulance, they didn't even know that this patient that they were carrying was no longer alive. It was just her shadow that they were seeing. Her body parts had already been harvested. We took her to the hospital. Then I rushed and I collected her kids because I wanted her kids to see their mother whilst she was like alive, but she was no longer alive in the spirit. I had already murdered her and I had harvested her body parts. And that is how I ended up sacrificing the woman that I loved with all of my heart. What pains me the most is that when I did these rituals, it was because I wanted to take care of her, for she had said that at least if you had money, if you were rich, I would be able to sacrifice and to have a third child by you, but I cannot give you a child with the way that you are poor. You are just Machingilan, and I cannot have a child with you when you are just a Machingilan. This is what she told me. Your dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me, was the narration of the message that was sent to me by our brother right there. Strange things, they do happen in this world. Yo.